in the lineage coming down from the original author, Vyasadeva. So this long work is a collection of stories. And that's what an ontology is. It's a collection of stories. Sometimes they're called myths, but myths is not really the right word because these stories are factual. Some of them are very, very old. But nonetheless, they give an accurate picture of the spiritual world. And that's what we're missing. Anyone can look around and observe the material world. But what we can't see is the spiritual world and how our current choices and actions affect our future existence in the spiritual world. That's why we need a map. We need an ontology. We need the esoteric teaching. Now, anyone who has studied religion, comparative religion, knows that the different religions and spiritual teachings in the world are actually remarkably similar and consistent. There are a certain core of ideas that are found in all religious teachings, in all spiritual practices. And they vary from religious teaching to religious teaching, from spiritual practice to spiritual path. But basically there is a pool of ideas which is common to most or even all of these teachings. And that is the esoteric teaching. There is an original source, a complete repository of spiritual information, and all other teachings are derived from it or are reflections of it. That is the esoteric teaching. That's why we're saying the esoteric teaching is absolutely important to understand for anybody who desires real spiritual advancement in life. So this ontology gives details of spiritual things that are not found in any other spiritual teachings. And it also has everything that is found in other spiritual teachings. So what does that mean? It means that the esoteric teaching is the most complete repository of spiritual information in the world. If you haven't studied it, then you can't know whether or not this is true. Therefore, we invite everyone to learn this esoteric teaching and see for themselves. Now, the problem with that is that the esoteric teaching is, well, esoteric. It's not a simple matter to enter into it because we have forgotten our real spiritual nature. Therefore, there is a preliminary stage of preparation required before one can understand the esoteric teaching properly. And that's what we're doing now. The purpose of this blog, podcast, and the website and so on, all about the esoteric teaching, is to prepare people. We can't give out the esoteric teaching in public because it would be misunderstood. We tried that. It didn't work. So now we're forming another sort of mission to present the esoteric teaching in a way that we hope will be more effective. And you can help us by giving us feedback in the comments on the blog site and on the forum on the main website. Let us know how this is going down. Do you think it's effective? Is it helping you? Is there anything you don't understand? Is there anything that's unclear? Let us know. We want to know because it helps us make a better presentation. So the esoteric teaching is there from ancient times, and unfortunately it has been misunderstood and misrepresented by people who have separate interests from the original purpose of the teaching. However, we do not. We are giving the original teaching in its complete and pure form without any changes. Interestingly enough, there are several features of the original literature of the esoteric teaching that are designed to prevent these changes and distortions. For example, it's written in a particular kind of poetry that has a fixed number of long and short syllables in each line. In Sanskrit, you have two kinds of syllables, long and short. And the long ones are twice as long as the short ones. And this is one of the first things one learns in the study of Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit poetry, in the esoteric teaching, each line has got a fixed number of syllables. And if there is any change, the number of syllables will not add up properly, and the transcriptionist will know that, oh, this is a problem. You remember, before the printing press, all books were copied by hand, so this was a real issue. Someone had to check and make sure that no mistakes were being made. And another thing is that the ontology of the esoteric teaching is summarized in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures of the Vedas. So if there is a mistake in the translation or interpretation of the teaching, it will not be consistent with the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a highly condensed summary. Another thing about Bhagavad Gita is that it gives people of average intelligence an introduction to the concepts of the esoteric teaching. And that way, when they begin to study the complete esoteric teaching, it's not so difficult for them to understand. For the ordinary person, the esoteric teaching would be extremely difficult. So Bhagavad Gita is there. It's written in very simple language, so anyone can understand. But one has to approach Bhagavad Gita or any spiritual literature, any esoteric teaching, with the proper spirit. Therefore, we recommend the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Swami Prabhupada, because that is the most transparent, most clear, and most closely adheres to the original spirit of the Gita. Well, how do we know what the spirit of the Gita is or should be? Well, we know because the complete teaching is there in the esoteric teaching. So both things act as a cross-check for each other. Now, this is another way that the ontological purity of the teaching is preserved. Now, the values of the esoteric teaching are designed to help us revive our original spiritual consciousness and to rediscover our original perfect body. That spiritual body, which is there eternally, is our birthright, and it's the source of all real happiness. So everyone should want to discover this. The tragedy of material life is that people don't know this truth about their real existence, and so they don't pursue this knowledge. Yet, this knowledge is there for everyone to benefit and to make spiritual progress in this life, so that in the next life they can live in their original perfect body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org.